Well, welcome everybody, students from around the world. My name is Marie Planchard, and it is an honor for me today to be with our SOLIDWORKS CEO and Vice President of R&D for SOLIDWORKS, Manish Kumar. Manish, welcome.
Thank you, Marie.
We're going to begin this journey, your journey, Manish, because there's a lot of students out there who wonder, how did you get here, right? And I believe you started in India in the state of Bihar.
Yes, I did.
So tell us a little bit about that beginning. Where's Bihar?
It's a state which is just south of Nepal, and it's not one of the most developed states of India, I would say. But it is a very old state. Two of the oldest religions, Jainism and Buddhism, it was born in the area where I was born in.
Wow.
So it's a historic place that way. But in the modern era, it's kind of lost, not because of any bad reasons. Rather, it's more agrarian in culture. It has lost in its space in terms of modernization. But from agrarian point of view, it's still one of the most high yield producing state.
Very fertile.
Very fertile land, yes.
And growing up, were there people that influenced your life, the part of this agrarian society, or were they workers? Who are the people that influenced your early life?
If I go back even 2 generations, my grandfather was a farmer. Even in my family, my father and his older brother are the first two people who came out of farming business and they went to be engineers.
Wow.
So my father is a civil engineer. And to me, he was my role model.
Oh, wow.
Growing up, I looked at him that what he used to do, I wanted to do something similar to him. So he was my role model.
That is terrific. I know my grandfather was also a farmer. I think that influenced me. I was just fascinated with the machines on the farm and the fact that my grandfather and my father could always work on them. So your father as an engineer is influencing you. You're in high school. My guess is you're playing cricket.
Of course. I still play cricket, by the way.
Yes, I know the Pune team, the R&D team likes when you come to visit. But there had to be something that said to you inside, I'm going to study, because for these very difficult exams, these entrance exams for the IITs, which are the premier institutes of India. So what was that time in your life all about?
Actually, it started a bit earlier. Growing up, every time I saw something that was working, I had to open it up to see how it used to work. The biggest or the most famous story of my family is that my sister, who is 5 years younger to me, she got a doll, and it used to talk. And for me, in that kind of era, it was an amazing thing that how can a doll talk? So one day, my parents and everyone in the family, they went someplace. It was perfect opportunity for me to open it up to see what exactly is happening. Of course, the poor doll, she never talked again. So I'm still blamed today that I'm the one who killed that poor doll.
Yes,
But
yes.
I learned that there was a tape inside. So, there is a bad side to it, but there is also a good side to it, because there is curiosity, and to a young curious mind, you need to keep on constantly feeding it. And later in my life, I realized, later in my education life, I realized that one of the biggest things you can do is go to an engineering school, which keeps on stimulating your brains to have these kind of discoveries without anyone feeling hurt. So that's how my journey to IITs began.
Is your sister still talking to you? Okay,
Thankfully, yes.
that's good. I know when I was at IIT Delhi, there was a big pile of old equipment, and I asked the professor there, what is that for? And he said, well, the students just get the parts they need.
Exactly.
They just break down what they need and find it. So when you're at IIT Delhi, okay, you're going through this rigorous curriculum. Was it mechanical engineering?
Yes, I did mechanical engineering.
Okay, and you now work for a software company. So
Creating software for mechanical engineers. So I'm still part of that journey.
Okay.
Thankfully.
So I'm going to say about the time you were there, probably the opportunities for internships were more mechanical in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what did you do?
I went to one of the biggest names back then. It used to be called Telco. Now it is called Tata Motors.
Mm.
But I was one of the fortunate enough students of IT Delhi because you had to go through an interview process in order to go to telco. So I was one of the fortunate students who was able to get to telco. I spent 3 months in Jamshedpur, which is the heart of Tata Motors. I spent my time in one of the plants which made the hub, the universal hub of a truck. It was one of the most exciting part of my stay at IIT Delhi.
Yes, it's like a mechanical engineer's dream to have these equipment and these parts. You're producing them.
Yeah.
So you go back, you've had this experience, and now it's probably getting close to your graduation.
Mhm.
What is the opportunity for you? Where do you go?
That is a very interesting story. For the first time at IIT Delhi, a company called Geometric Software was coming.
Oh.
And when you are in IITs, at least back then, if you had to apply for a company, you go and put your name in a roster,
Mhm.
and then the company comes, you are interviewed, and then you get to know what happens. So Geometric was supposed to come to IIT Delhi, and not a single person applied because no one knew about Geometric. And back then, internet was not as uber, I should say, as it is today.
Yeah.
So we never knew what geometric software even did. But thankfully, I was doing a course in computer-aided design, and one of our professors, he knew about geometric software, and he said in his class that, why are you guys not applying for it if you're taking this course? And lo and behold, every single student of that particular class went away. After that class, they went and put their names in the roster, and I was one of them. Ultimately, I went through the interview process. I got selected, and on day one, I was made to be part of the SolidWorks R&D team. So in 1998, July 1st, I joined SolidWorks R&D team, and here I am right now.
Wow, that is terrific. Okay, but you were where were you with GSS? Was that
In Pune.
in Pune?
Yes.
Okay, you're in Pune. How do you get to Boston, Massachusetts, USA?
Thankfully, again, I was at that time working for one of the founders of SolidWorks, Tommy Lee. He is an amazing guy. I still meet him every now and then. He's an amazing guy. He worked with me for 1.5 years while I was remote. And second year of my career at SolidWorks R&D, he offered me to come directly to work for SolidWorks at headquarters. It was in Concord back then. So that's how I ended up coming to US.
Was that your first time on a plane to travel to the US?
Yes, it was my first time, and there were hilarious stories that I'll tell you some other day, but it was my first time I ever sat on a plane, and that plane came to US.
Wow. I bet the weather was a little bit different here than in Delhi.
Of course, growing up in India, for that matter, that too Bihar, and I did my graduation or undergrads in Delhi. These are one of the hottest possible places that you can find in India. So easily on any summer day, you can reach 45 degrees centigrade. When I came here in Boston on day one, when I landed, I came out from the Logan Airport, and I believe the temperature with wind chill was something like -5 Fahrenheit, which is close to -20 degrees centigrade. So you can see there was just a difference of 60 degrees centigrade that I had to accommodate to. It was not fun.
It wasn't fun. No, you need a really good winter coat here.
Yes.
So I know it was like around the time that I first started, and you had a reputation of knowing everything inside of SolidWorks. You must have had some sort of systematic way you could tell students, because you were thrown, well, not thrown, you flew, you're in the middle of R&D for SolidWorks. What was your process? What did you do to learn?
I would say there is no substitute to hard work.
Very good.
When we came here, I believe I was the youngest guy back then in the team with the least possible experience, which meant anything that no one else wanted to do was given to me. Now, you can see it as a pain that why am I doing all the dirty work? But then I looked at it as an opportunity to learn everything that there needs to be learned about. So I was able to go into all possible different areas of SolidWorks. I was able to start from translation, was able to work on surfacing, was able to work on parts, feature generation, weldments. I was able to work in drawings, assembly, sketcher. And by going into all these different areas, I was able to soon enough acquire the kind of knowledge that was not easily to find because working in silo is very easy, it's very
Yeah.
comfortable. Working across silos was difficult. But back then I was not married. I had no responsibilities. I used to work day in, day out. I had nothing else to lose. So I acquired as much knowledge as I can, as fast as I can.
And at the time, I remember there was a lot of frozen dinners in the
Of course.
cafeteria that you would find yourself.
In fact, first week of my joining, I did not even realize that there used to be a cafeteria in the building. Back then, we were in a startup kind of mode.
Yeah.
And like every other startup, we used to have candies in the fridge. There used to be coming from India. Again, keep in mind, I came in '99. In '99, going and buying a can of Coke in India meant you need to spend money. Here I came and there was Coke in the fridge. I was like, where am I? I'm in heaven. So I used to feast on candies. I used to feast on chocolates. I used to feast on Coke. For a week, I was just warming up pizza, which was in the deep freezer. I was surviving on that without even realizing that there was a cafeteria downstairs
I,
because
I'm glad your teammates introduced you to the cafeteria.
at some point they did.
Yeah, the food.
When they
food was a
realized that
lot
I did
better.
not even know,
Yes.
they did.
And I think, back then you even worked on this new technology, e-drawings, and that was pretty amazing for a 3D company, right? To
Yeah.
have this idea when everyone was carrying blueprints around under their arms in these big long tubes,
Mhm.
and you were part of that innovation.
It was amazing. I mean, if you look back at e-drawings, what e-drawings did was it gave the power of visualizing any CAD to everyone,
Mm.
which was impossible back then. So that was the ease of use of e-drawings that was brought to the market.
So you're surrounded by all these amazing developers, great software, and you decide something's missing. And you make this decision to go back to school.
Yes.
Not just any school, but you chose Harvard University, which in the United States, you can question this, is probably the #1 school in this country. So
It's also
why'd you go?
it's also nearby, right? So there was that part too. But again, as I said, I realized early in my life that there is no substitute to hard work. And I had a mechanical engineering background. I was not a software engineer.
Mm.
In fact, during my interview process, I should say, during my Tommy had just told me that you are going to come, but he said I have to ask some questions. So he had asked me a few questions. So he had asked me a question. I still remember that. Do you know how hash arrays work? And I answered yes, because I had used them. What he had meant was, how does it work inside the code? I had no idea, but to be frank, I answered the way I understood the question. Then
Mm.
later in my life, I realized that I did not really answer the question because I had no idea how it used to work. And then that realization hit me that I'm not a software engineer. I do not have I should say, a systematic knowledge of computer science. So that's when I decided that I should get that, because without that, I will be in situations where I will not understand what I'm being asked, or I'll not be able to take decisions that I should be taking, and so on.
Mm.
So that was my driving force, that let's go back to learn something new.
That's amazing. And you did it in a very, very short time to achieve a degree, to work at a brand new company. And year over year, you just kept advancing. How did you do that?
Well, now it seems that I kept on advancing, but there used to be times when I created my first product in 2010-ish timeframe, I would say. The very first product that we released, the name was Avalanche. We released it. We demoed
Oh.
it at 3XP at SolidWorks World. It used to be called back then.
Mm-hmm.
And then we decided that we will not proceed with it any further with it. The management at that time decided that it's not going to go anywhere. So at that time, it came to me as a shock that
Yeah.
I invested so much time, effort, and hard work into something.
Right. You feel like it's your
It,
kid
exactly.
in a
And
way.
then all of a sudden it's gone. Then we started to work on something else. In fact, after that, two additional products that we worked on, we released it in the market, but ultimately we pulled it out of the market because it was not very popular.
Mm,
I felt really bad, but what I realized was unless until you fail, you do not know what you don't know. So at times you need to fail in order to refine what you are trying to do and become more successful in future. So
mm,
that failure was, I think, that was the key part of my life journey. That was the change that I was missing at the earlier part of my life because everything I did, I felt I am unsuccessful. But that failure made me pause and think that what is the definition of success? Is it just a beautiful product which is going to be sold in millions?
mm.
Or is it learning from some failure with which you can create something which is going to be even more impactful in future?
Right.
And the second part is way more important than being successful in short term.
I know. I have to say that Manish gave me the same advice about a month ago because I had failed at something that I had owned, and you told me you got to keep going. You got to keep trying, and I'm on the next path to try, and the failure is back there. And
Failure
we're
is always a lesson that
it
you learn.
is. It is a lesson,
Yeah.
and now I'm going forward. And thanks to you, a much more positive attitude, and you got to have that because there's going to be failures.
There are, if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. That's my motto.
You're working hard. You get at SolidWorks R&D, you get your graduate degree from Harvard. You go on to become vice president of SolidWorks R&D and then CEO of SolidWorks brand.
Mhm.
How did that happen, Manish?
I would say there are two ways to look at life. One is when you want to achieve something and you do everything in order to achieve that thing. And the second path is that you believe in doing all the right things and then things come to you automatically. So in my case, it was the other one, where I never said or ever even, I never even dreamed of trying to or getting this post. In fact, I always kept on trying to do the right thing. As I told you when I joined, whatever no one else was planning to work on, it was given to me. I happily took it. Same way, I kept on trying to do things which were controversial at times when it was being done because a lot of it demanded change. A
Mm,
lot of it meant not to do the same old, rather trying to do something which was extremely uncomfortable for not just for me, for the entire team, because it was something new. It involved change. But what I realized that slowly as I tried to go on that path of embracing change, I realized that to maintain status quo, you don't need leaders. To maintain status quo, anyone can do it.
mm,
Leaders are required to change things, to change status quo, to make sure that you can go towards that future. And I believe I was one of those lucky ones who was given this opportunity to change, to look towards that future, to try to drive towards that future by challenging everything that was possible because we were still making a lot of money in SolidWorks.
mm,
We are still making a lot of money on SolidWorks on the desktop side. Still, the future is going to be cloud. It's not just a change for our users, our clients, it's a change for ourselves as well.
yes.
Being able to embrace that change, being able to drive towards that future, that was a hard work, a very tough journey, I would say. That responsibility was given to me. I was the lucky one, I would say. I
Mm.
was able to go and embrace that opportunity that was given to me. I never complained. I kept on doing things that was asked to me, and I did it to the best of my capabilities. At times, as I told you, I did not succeed. At times, I succeeded. I believe it's all the culmination was that CEO announcement because I did not go and ask that I should be CEO.
Surprise, right?
It was a surprise for me as well. to be frank.
Wow.
But this is how it came to me.
A good surprise, Manish.
It was a very
A
good
very
surprise.
good surprise for all of us here.
Thank you.
So now we have students watching. What advice would you give them as they start their careers?
I would say do not be scared of failures. In fact, if you're not failing enough, you're not trying hard enough. That is one key advice that you should always keep in mind. If you are always succeeding, if you are always getting what you need, what you want, perhaps pause and think that are you trying hard enough? Are your dreams big enough? Because if you're always succeeding it, your dreams are not big enough. So go shoot for stars and go get them.
Great advice. Thank you for being with us today. And thank you, all you students, for being with the SOLIDWORKS community and now the 3D Experience SOLIDWORKS community.